If you're ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, then grab your Bible and let's get started.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back on this Sabbath day for a Sabbath day teaching. I am so blessed to be here for another day, another opportunity that He has given me to do the work of the kingdom. As you know, we've already entered into the third biblical month of the biblical year. And so today's a Sabbath day. And tomorrow will be a Sabbath day. These are double Sabbaths. Of course, tomorrow's Sabbath day is because the annual feast, a feast of weeks, the feast of Pentecost, Shavuot, which is what we consider a high Sabbath, another Sabbath day because you treat those annual feasts just like our weekly feast of every Saturday. So, and of course, those who join me doing for Instagram, you already received this information in this news. So I'm so glad to share those who are not there on Instagram, hoping that you would join me on Instagram, which I finally got into because I was some reason unable to get into, still unable to get into Facebook. Just want to just throw that information out there today. But what today's teaching is, we're going to complete chapter 17 on today, as you can tell by the title. But in John number 11, which we covered last week, We witnessed the power of Yeshua to call life out of death as he raises Lazarus from the grave, a powerful sign that he is the resurrection and the life. Yet, even with such a miracle, not everyone believed. This shows us that signs alone don't transform heart. Faith does. And then we also covered Luke chapter 17, verses 11 through 19, where Yeshua heals 10 lepers, but only one returns to give thanks. A reflection of the heart truly moved by faith and gratitude. Once again, we see how the responses of the heart reveals the condition of the soul. Just as only one leper returned and only some believe after Lazarus was raised, so it is today. That we have people that truly have eyes that they don't see, ears that they don't hear. It is truly the condition of the heart. You have to have the eyes and the ears to recognize the kingdom. So people today are unable to recognize that kingdom now, and will they be prepared for when the Son of Man is revealed? So if you look at those two passages we covered last week, it reminds us that miracles reveal the king, but it is the heart that must choose to live under his rule. As we move into the remaining passages of Luke, which is verses 20 through 37 of 17, we're going to explore more deeply of what it means to live as a citizen of the kingdom with a heart that obeys, ears that receive, and a heart to receive, and eyes that are open to what Elohim is doing right now. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom, where we're working towards growing in harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson. I am so excited about today and thankful for those of you who are able to join me live and those who will be joining me during the replay. You are greatly appreciated. Now, if you are new and you just stopped into this channel today, I'm encouraging you to hit that subscribe button. Just like the returning subscribers that support and the new subscribers who's now engaging, I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. It's all appreciated, but this is the way that we reach the nations with the biblical doctrine and not the dogma of men. So I'm encouraging you to do that. I'm encouraging you that because I'm inviting you to search the scriptures with an open heart with us. I'm inviting you to challenge the religious traditions that we have been taught for centuries as biblical doctrine. Embrace the call of being a lifetime student of the Bible, and that I am also inviting you to explore the Hebrews of the Christian faith. Now, if this sounds like you and you are ready to do all these things, that means you're in the right place. So hit that subscribe button. Don't forget the bell so that you can stay connected. And of course, I'm always encouraging everyone to go to @Reconcile the Kingdom throughout the social media, and you will link to me in that way. That's Instagram, Spotify, all those areas. You will find me. Once again, I encourage you to stay connected. Now, don't forget at the end of today's teaching, you'll be able to ask questions about what's presented to you today. That's including the overview that we will be going over that too. I encourage you to share the link throughout the teaching. What better gift? What better notification? What better way of sharing and showing others that you care about them by giving them the understanding of biblical doctrine. So by you sharing that link, you showing that you care for them, that they need to see the Bible as it is written and understanding the foundation. So that's why I encourage you to share. Now, right before you should have your Bible, you should have all the writing utensils that you need, and hopefully that you downloaded the Google Sheet for taking notes. So I did not complete a workbook for season 5, but I did connect the Google Sheet that you can use throughout season 5, and you can use it throughout the season if you want to, if you um, want to do it in that fashion too, That's what it's for. So we're going to begin the teaching as we always do with the previous teaching that we went over last week. And I'm going to bring that up so you can see it good. So we went through two passages. We went through John 11:38 through 46, Luke 17:11 through 19. This overview is not going to complete the teaching we went over. So this is why you go into the playlist and you go to episode 11 if you missed that. But I'm going to point out just a few things on today. Noble themes, miracles reveal Yeshua's power and his identity. Signs are not enough without faith. Yeshua sees the heart response. Obedience opens the door to transformation. I have lots of cross-reference that we went through and no word study that we went through together. Again, that does not mean in your own studies, after you study with me, that you take your studies further, you're doing a word study, because each time I study, I personally use word study as a part of my study so I can understand what the passages, what the word is saying. And sometimes we miss a lot by not doing that word study. So I have a few reflections. Yeshua intentionally waited for Lazarus to die so that his disciples and all who witness could see firsthand his authority over death. Because we know death entered in Genesis chapter 1 when Adam and Eve have given their rights over to Satan, Hasatan. Now, when he later appeared resurrected to his disciples, it's important to understand they have already seen this type of power. So when they are seeing Yeshua raise Lazarus after 4 days of being wrapped and in his cave where the stone was rolled over, they witnessed this, so they have no excuse not to believe when he raises from the dead, because again, this is a first-hand experience, so they will be experiencing this for the second time personally in the beginning. Because this miracle was undeniable proof that he was operating in divine authority, this threatens the religious leaders' control, exposes their unbelief. It exposes them. Yeshua exposes all the different denominations at the time that he walked. And actually, he's still exposing it if you study the scriptures correctly. After Yeshua raised Lazarus from the dead, the chief priests, the Pharisees, gathered the Sanhedrin. Remember, that's the Jewish religion council that we talked about in Acts. And he gathered them out of fear because the plan to kill Yeshua has begun. What truly fascinates me about this, when I was reading that passage, I just couldn't help but think about the Father himself, how he knew exactly when to send his son. The creator of the heaven and earth was fully aware that his son would be rejected by his own people. Now, there were at least 6 of Yeshua's instructions that were broken due to, by his people, the religious leaders of his time, due to the planning of trying to eliminate Yeshua from this earth. Now, again, this is just a few little reflections from out of the entire teaching, and I'm going to encourage you to go back if you missed episode number 11. Now, my application, Yeshua shows us that he has power over death, calling Lazarus from the grave as a sign of what's to come. Remember, what's to come as a time that we're reading this about Lazarus. He shows us that the healing isn't the end. Gratitude and faith reveal the heart. This is and always been about the heart. And so I pray for him to search my heart. I always pray for the Father to search my heart because he knows me better than I know myself. I can fool myself, but I will never be able to fool him. This is why I try to keep myself prayerful, to have him reveal myself to me so that I can change some of those errors that I recognize through his word and by his spirit. So my questions have not changed from this season. And it's mainly because understanding the kingdom and the way that Yeshua teaches it, the way the Father brings it to us, challenges our religious systems, denomination, non-denominational, and them all, because we have to be willing to hear and obey the truth even when it challenges us. And that has been the difficulty since the garden. How do we follow the Messiah that we claim to follow without walking in the same truth? If you are not trying to line yourself up to him, you are falling on the wayside. So I encourage you to go through the seasons, because the point of the seasons is following his footsteps and understanding what he taught so that we can line ourselves up. Now, I'm going to leave the sheet up for a moment to give you opportunity to ask questions, give you opportunity to have any comment, any thoughts about what I presented to you today. Now, I encourage you, whether you agree or disagree, to make a comment. I just encourage you to make it respectfully. And hopefully you don't need a lesson on how to respectfully disagree. So this passage that we're going to go through today, the study, is from Luke chapter 17, verses 20 to 37, which we spoke about in the introduction. Verse 20. Now he was questioned by the Pharisees as to when the kingdom of Elohim was coming. And he answered them and said, the kingdom of Elohim is not coming with signs that can be observed. Nor will they say, look, here it is, or there it is. For behold, the kingdom of heaven is in the midst. Some of your Bibles might say within you. So this is important to not miss. When the Pharisees asked Yeshua when the kingdom of Elohim would come, he redirected their expectations from an outward sign to an inward reality. The kingdom, he said, is not something that can be observed with the eyes or pointed out with certainty. For the kingdom of Elohim is in the midst. It's within you. It is present spiritual reality that operates within and among those who believe. Now, Paul wrote in Romans 14:17, the kingdom is not about physical practices like eating and drinking, It's about righteousness, peace, joy in the Holy Spirit. It is a deeper inner transformation. So when Yeshua is seeing that it's not what you observe, like you would eat and drink, it's this inner transformation. And he also spoke in 18 and 36. He says this: the kingdom is not of this world. It is not upheld by earthly power, defined by human means. Instead, it is rooted in the spirit. Just as Yeshua described the born again experience. Remember, he had to explain that to Nicodemus, who was a teacher of the people, who should have already known it because it's written in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament. He said this: like the wind is unseen yet undeniable, but we hear its sound, but we cannot tell where it's come from or where it goes. Yet, this spiritual kingdom is no less powerful. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44, he prophesies about this kingdom. The kingdom of Elohim will outlast and overthrow all earthly kingdoms. It is eternal, unshakable, and is not handed to another. It is set up by Elohim himself and will stand forever. In essence, the kingdom of Elohim is not an external event to wait for, but an eternal reality to live in, a present experience of divine rule through the Spirit and Word, transforming hearts, reshaping lives in alignment with Elohim's eternal purposes. That's the kingdom of Elohim. Let's continue. Luke 17:22. And he said to the disciples, the days will come when you will long to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and you will not see it. And they will say to you, look there, or look here. So we do realize that this continues today. Look here and look there. Let me continue. Do not leave. Do not go running after them. For just like the lightning, when it flashes out of one part of the sky, it shines to the other part of the sky, so will the Son of Man be in his day. It is going to be undoubtable of who this is. You will go once we get to Revelation and all that, we will see more of this. But first, verse 25, he must suffer many things and be rejected by this generation. And just as it happened in the days of Noah, so will it also be in the days of the Son of Man. People were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, and they were being given to marriage until the day of Noah entered the ark. And the flood came and destroyed them all. It was the same as it happened in the days of Lot. They were eating, they were drinking, they were burying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on that day that Lot left Sodom, it rained fire, brimstone from heaven, and destroyed them all. It will be just the same on the day the Son of Man is revealed. Now, that is a mouthful. That is a mouthful. Yeshua continues teaching about the Son of Man. His return will be sudden, unmistakable, just like lightning flashes across the sky. He will be seen. Before that day comes, he speaks that he must suffer and be rejected by this generation, indicating that the cross must come before he is crowned on this earth. Yeshua consistently throughout the Gospels that we've been studying taught that he must suffer. And some of the parts his disciples missed that was discussion because his suffer is a part of his mission. This world doesn't surrender anything easily because it seeks to keep a grip, I should say, on every soul. And if you can remember, Elohim warned Cain about this. He said, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Now, we're not going to go into a deep study about this verse because there's a lot in that verse, but Yeshua did what no one else could. He was able to rule over sin completely. But because of this, the wicked determined he must be removed. The religious systems determined that he has to go. If that's how the world treated the sinless son of Elohim, what do you think will happen to us as we follow in him? This is why he was teaching about taking up the cross and following him. It's not just about believing, it's about walking the same path, knowing that the cost of righteousness is real, but it also has its reward. Yeshua then draws a parallel between his return to two historical judgments. That's what I said, this passage is so powerful. The days of Noah and the days of Lot. In both cases, people are going about their daily lives, eating and drinking and all the things they were doing with no awareness of the coming destruction. They live with no urgency, blind to spiritual warnings around them. They were completely blinded. Just as the flood came in Noah's day and fire and brimstone fell in Lot's, so too will the days of the Son of Man come suddenly to bring judgment. So the warning is clear. So don't be soothed into complacency by the routines of your life, because we can get set up that way. The kingdom is not delayed because it's weak or distant. The kingdom is delayed because it is patient. He does not desire for anyone to perish, but he is patient. And when it arrives in this fullness, remember after the fullness of the Gentiles, it will be swift and decisive. Yeshua warns that his return will be sudden and undeniable. We have witnesses of this. That lightning flashing across the sky before he comes, his followers also will follow his footsteps and suffer and be rejected. So there's a pattern of suffering of the Messiah before he reigned as king. And it's all throughout the Tanakh. So to help his audience understand the nature of his return, Yeshua points to those two historical events, Noah and Lot. Now, During Noah's time, humanity was warned for decades. If you read Genesis chapter 6, 2 Peter 2 and 5, Noah was a preacher of righteousness, a faithful messenger, calling people to turn from wickedness, align their ways to the Creator. So it seems like Noah may have warned his generation 120 years. That was patience. Yet, despite this long window of mercy, the people choose to live their lives their own way, walking in violence, corruption, self-gratification. They ignore the message from Noah, continuing their life as usual, again, eating, drinking, marrying, blinded about the coming judgment because of their hearts. Yeshua is teaching this. He's teaching about the heart of the Father. Jehovah's heart was grieved because what had to happen, because of his desire to destroy, because the hearts of the people were hard at the time of Noah. They had no desire for salvation, no fear of judgment, no room for the ways of the Creator. So when the flood came, it was not a surprise. It was the outcome of persistent rebellion against divine mercy. So you had that time of Noah. Again, Lot, a society that was consumed with pleasure and pride. It was too prideful. Reject the warnings. Fire fell because people was unaware, because they was unwilling to turn. The Son of Man is revealing. It will come suddenly, just in the midst of ordinary life. This is not just a warning about timing. It's a message about the condition of the heart. This is why the kingdom is always about the heart. Noah days, not one of them was prepared, received, or open. The kingdom caught them in the midst of them being unprepared. Just as Yeshua referenced the days of Noah as a shadow picture, that Lot as a shadow picture for his generation, because they understood the scriptures. They understood. And you don't learn about Lot being righteous until you get to 2 Peter 2 and 7. That Lot, as a righteous man, was oppressed by the perverted conduct of non-moral people. Non-moral people. I guess that's a word. He was burdened daily as he lived surrounded by lawlessness and rebellion. Again, while Noah's generation was marked by violence and corruption, Lot's generation was steeped into sexual immorality and pride. Judge chapter 1 verse 7 describes how Sodom and Gomorrah gave themselves over to gross immorality and pursued strange flesh. And for this, they were made public example of divine judgment. Now, this is the kicker that most people don't talk about. The judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah was not just about their sexual sin. If you go into Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49 and 50, it gives you an additional information, another picture of Sodom's condition. I'm going to read that. This was the guilt of your sister Sodom: arrogance, abundant food, and careless ease, but she did not help the poor and the needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. Therefore, I removed them when I saw it. So we have Lot, who lived among unrighteous people. Again, they had abundance, but they chose to keep it to themselves, did not help the poor or the needy, and plus lived all kinds of ways. Just as Noah and Lot, surrounded by their society that rejected the ways of Jehovah, even before the written Torah was given. This is before it was given. Their hearts were already hardened. Their actions revealed they walk by their own desires and not by the Spirit or any type of moral law. That was out the door, out the window. Yeshua's warning is piercing. The days leading up to his return will look just like those days. People focus on the Noah days, but Lot days too. And people only focus on Sodom and Gomorrah when actually there was actually little cities around who also experienced this judgment. But they don't focus on how Sodom and Gomorrah kept abundance to themselves, did nothing for the poor or the needy. This is why we are supposed to have that third year tithes is what we give to take care of the poor, the widows, the orphans, even the teachers. People of those times were consumed with daily life, ignoring the Spirit's conviction. You can ignore the conviction by the Spirit. Just resist righteousness and indifferent to judgment until it came suddenly. And so here is the truth that we need to recognize. If Jehovah did not spare Noah's generation, and if he rained down fire on Sodom and Gomorrah and a few surrounding cities, what makes people think that we can escape that same judgment if our hearts refuses to turn? The judgment did not come because they didn't know the law. It's not like they did not understand. It came because they rejected the spirit of righteousness, that the very nature of Jehovah, even the in the conscious. Now, there are a few things that I want to focus on that I don't want us to miss surrounding the events with Lot. Now, truly, we previously explored Lot's life when we went through Genesis chapter 19. I think I'm going to try to put a link to Genesis 19 in the description box, or I'll put it somewhere. But Lot was sitting at the gate of the city. So, and of course, when we went through that study, we helped you understand that people of influence. So Lot may have had a position of influence, possibly even a council seat. And I point this out because when the men of the city came after the angels, do you notice throughout that time, prior to that, they did not come after Lot? Prior to that, they did not come out to after Lot's sons-in-law. But when the angels came, they went directly after the messengers of Jehovah. So Lot, who lived a righteous life in the midst of the wickedness, was likely a voice of the warning, just like he was a warning to his sons-in-law, who, despite was connected to him, they had no faith, and so they perished in that city. So Lot could have been a voice, much like Noah. Lot may have spoken of righteousness, and his stand for what is right became a witness that brought the city's rebellion into judgment. Because Lot was the only righteous person there. So he had to live the light. He may have spoken plenty of times through the council about the direction that the city was in. We don't have that information, but it's quite possible. But I say this because what the men in the city has said, they said this one came in as a foreigner. This is in Genesis 19, and already he's acting like a judge. Lot called out their wickedness, saying in essence, in reality, this behavior does not align to the ways of the Creator. I brought this up because I want us to see a deeper layer. Both Noah and Lot walked the path of righteousness before Jehovah, just as we call to do today. Their lives was a witness in the midst of the corruption. Their words, though rejected, became part of the testimony that led to judgment. Guess what? That's the same that we are as the bride, as the body of Messiah, as citizens of the kingdom. So when we go out, reteach, whatever your calling is, when we go out doing the work of the kingdom, what do you think the people are going to be judged by when those books open? Let's continue. Verse 31. On that day, the one would be on the housetop with his goods in the house must not go down to take them out. And likewise, the one in the field must not return back. Remember Lot's wife? Whoever strives to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses life will keep it. I tell you, on the night there will be two in one bed, and one will be taken and the other will be left. There will be two women grinding at the same place, one will be taken, the other will be left. Two men will be in the field, and one will be taken, the other one will be left. And responding, they said to him, "Where, Lord? Where, Master?" And he said to them, "Where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered." Even in this passage, there's a lot. Believe me, it takes me time sometimes to narrow things down. Because what I don't want you to do is, one, be overwhelmed. But I need you to hear the words of the kingdom. I need you to have ears to hear and eyes to see. So Yeshua continues describing the suddenness, the seriousness of the day when the Son of Man is revealed. He warns that when that day comes, there will be no time to return back. At this moment, if you hear my voice and you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. As you know, we're taking our time through the scriptures to understand as it is written. That's the best way that you can support this ministry. That's the best way. There are so many ways we talked about. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube podcasts, shop in the Amazon studio, the Amazon for the books, the ebooks, or RK Biblical Studio and Etsy. But the best way is hitting that subscribe button so that the biblical truth would get out. Not my truth, not your truth, not your denominational truth, but what is written. So he warns them when that day comes, there will be no time to return back, no time to retrieve your possessions from the house or the field. The urgency is clear. Those who look back or clinging to this world will be unprepared and lost. He then gives a serious reminder, a reminder of Lot's wife, a woman who, though was delivered from judgment, looked back with longing and was overtaken by destruction. Her heart was still tied into what Jehovah was judging, what he was judging. Her heart was still there. This becomes a warning to everyone who ties to preserve their life in this world. All this is going to perish at one point. And looking back is not what the citizens of the kingdom of Elohim should be doing. Whoever seeks to keep his life will lose it. Whoever loses life will preserve it. Yeshua continues with the description of division and separation on that day. Two people will be in one bed, one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding grain, one taken and the other one left. Two in the field, one taken and the other one left. This separation is not random. It is based on the heart and readiness of each individual. Nearness to others does not guarantee safety. Each person will be dealt with according to their own responses to the kingdom. Again, we read about Lot's wife and his sons-in-law. Remember that. They had an opportunity, but they could not let go. When the disciples asked, "Where, Master?" he answered mysteriously, "Where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered," signifying that judgment will find the spiritual dead. Just as vultures are drawn to decay, it's a final reminder you cannot hide from that day. Your spiritual condition will determine your outcome. Yeshua's teaching in these verses dismantles any illusion that the kingdom of Elohim will come with a kind of outward display. Some ways it will, but it won't be tied into the systems of this world. The kingdom is already here. It presents in the hearts of those who walk by the Spirit and live under the rule of the King. It is spiritual, internal, transformative, not established by signs or politics of human power. But let's talk about the signs that the kingdom does provide to us for those who are in the kingdom, because the kingdom is within. When the kingdom of Elohim is truly within you, it becomes evident by the fruit of the Spirit and the operation of the gifts of the Spirit. The fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, this reveals the character of a life transformed by the Ruach, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. These aren't just traits, they are signs that the king is ruling in your heart. Now, alongside the gifts of the Spirit, such as wisdom, prophecy, healing, tongues, discernment, all these things you find in 1 Corinthians 12 manifest as a tool for us to work and build up the body to reveal heaven's power on earth. Where the kingdom is present, there is both inner transformation and outward determination, demonstration, showing that the reign of Elohim has taken root in your life. But none of this is mixed into the systems of the world. So that's the difference. It's not by what you can demonstrate by eating and drinking and things like that. This is nothing of this world. This is the kingdom. The kingdom is not coming, it is here. But when the king returns to glory, every secret will be revealed. Each person will stand alone. The question is not when the kingdom will come, but whether you're living in it now. That's the question. A surrendered heart, a life set apart, eyes fixed on the one who's coming again. The question now, how do you enter this kingdom? Yeshua made it clear. He said, "True, true, I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim." Again, this comes through that whole discussion in John chapter 3 that he has with Nicodemus, who is a Pharisee, who should have been able to teach the people this because it's written in the Tanakh and Ezekiel and also Jeremiah. So what is about this born again experience? He said, if you go to John chapter 3, verse 5, if you jump down there, he said, except a man be born of water and of spirit, you cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. So you first have to be born by the washing of the water of the word and by the spirit in order to enter into this kingdom that the Pharisees is asking about. That's already here. It was here when they was asking that question. The born again experience to enter the kingdom was in the Tanakh, the Old Testament. So it was around before they even asked the question. This is what the teachers of his day missed. They were searching for this external kingdom while ignoring the inner transformation required to belong to it. And this is what many still miss today. That the kingdom requires a new birth, not just a new behavior. It requires the spirit to rule within, not just religious tradition on the outside. That is dogma. The very thing that Yeshua taught against is the religious tradition. The kingdom is not just about future glory, it's about the present surrender. You don't wait to see it. You choose to live under its rule now. And when the king returns, he will gather those who are truly his, those not merely looking for a sign, but those who have been marked by the Spirit, made new, and ruled by heaven's kingdom. Don't wait for the kingdom to appear. Step into it now. Surrender your heart. Be born of the Spirit, washed by the word, and live under the rule of the King. The time is not coming. It's already here. So I leave you with this question. I leave you with this question, not just as a, you have to examine yourself. Because what denominations, non-denominational systems won't teach you to help you understand, to answer the question that I'm about to ask you, you're going to have to search for this. Are you in the kingdom? Are you receiving what Yeshua is teaching? How he is trying to lead and guide you? That's a question that you need to answer, and ask the Father to search your heart to reveal yourself. Now, we have actually completed Luke chapter 17 on this episode number 12 of What Yeshua Taught. So don't forget to join me tomorrow at 12 o'clock as we are getting ready to, we're going to be honoring the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, or Shavuot. So we're going to have a teaching for that. And of course, I always invite everyone to join me on Tuesdays. Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. I'm also live, because you, myself, everyone needs to understand the Torah, the book of Moses, the Pentateuch, whatever you may call it, to have that foundation so you won't miss what Nicodemus missed, and you won't miss what many of the religious system missed in his day. They continue to be missed today. So join me on Tuesday. We are on Leviticus chapter 22. And of course, again, join me on tomorrow as we get ready for the feast. Now, there's no special meal that you have to have, so don't go trying to look up if there's no special meal for this, but we'll have a teaching on tomorrow. So let me leave this prayer for you. May Jehovah bless you and keep you. May Jehovah shine his face on you and give you his favor. May Jehovah shine his face towards you and give you his peace. All in the mighty name of Yeshua. So I pray that I will see you tomorrow at noon live. There's a specific reason why I do everything live. There's a reason. And I hope to see you on tomorrow.